This is actually something that we've known has been on the horizon for a little while, and that is the Disney investors meeting is happening today. The Disney's investor meeting is happening today. And you may be asking yourself, so what? Who cares? Disney investor meeting, big deal. Well, here's the thing. Here's why we're talking about this today. The last time, because the Disney investors hold a meeting 4 times a year, like once every quarter, right? And out of these meetings come really big decisions. The last huge decision to come out of a Disney investors meeting was Mulan. We all know that situation with Mulan. They decided to put Mulan out onto Disney Plus with a premium $30 price tag. If you want to watch Mulan, you pay. Yes, you have to be a Disney Plus subscriber, but you also have to pay a $30 price tag, or I guess $29.99, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? So, why are we talking about this today? Well, as you may have noticed, there is a massive global worldwide pandemic going on right now. The world has shifted slightly. We don't do business the same way that we always used to. So with Disney trying to figure out the future of what their company is, of what they're going to be, of how they're going to stay in business, of how they're going to make money, of how they can be the most effective and efficiently running system, business that they can be, they need to make some very interesting and creative decisions. And today is the day that they're all meeting, they're all coming together to let each other know what these decisions are and to make further decisions, finalize things. So later today, probably tomorrow, big news, big announcements are going to be dropping from Disney. So what are some of the things that we can expect to hear from Disney? This particular article in Variety breaks it down into 4 different quadrants. The first quadrant is film. Variety is talking about, will Disney pull a Warner Brothers and smash theatrical windows? The next part of what they're talking about is streaming, television streaming, specifically their focus on Disney Plus. I almost said HBO Max. Next is their theme parks. What can they do to improve their theme parks? And lastly, Disney stock. What can we expect to see from Disney stock? So let me just address the last part first. Disney stock, as I reset the page. So the Disney stock is expected to maybe not soar, but they're expected to do very well, right? Disney has positioned themselves very well financially, maybe not necessarily to prepare for a pandemic or to prepare for this kind of at-home situation that we all find ourselves in right now, but out of sheer coincidence and out of sheer preparation, maybe not sheer preparation, but out of preparation, they have positioned themselves extremely well for good success in the future, right? Or rather, in our current situation. So there's that. The Disney parks, let's address that really quick. There's not a lot that they can do. It's the situation is a little bit out of their hands. Their park in Florida, Walt Disney World in Florida, has been open since I think it was June or July. I want to say it was July is when they finally opened. I think Disney parks historically have only ever been closed 4 times in history. I think one was out of reverence for the assassination of JFK. One was out of reverence for 9/11. And now the pandemic. There was another one. I can't quite remember the other one. But now out of the pandemic. So it's a historical moment to say that Disney parks are closed, and for the first time ever, closed more than 1 day consecutively. More than 1 day consecutively. That's never happened in history before. California is still closed. The Disneyland has been shut down since the beginning of the pandemic. That is yet to reopen. And their park in Hong Kong has opened and then closed, and then opened and then closed, and then opened and then closed. So they're currently closed in Hong Kong, and it's just a back and forth situation. So the park situation is kind of out of their hands. There's not a lot that they can do to try and salvage money with the parks. They're already operating at a $9 billion deficit just from the parks. Just from the parks. That's crazy. That's crazy to think that just on the parks alone, the Walt Disney Company has lost $9 billion just from the closure of the parks. And some of them are kind of open. So let's talk about streaming and let's talk about movies, because I feel like those two things are hand in hand at this point. What are some things that we can expect to hear come out of this Disney investors meeting either later today or tomorrow? I mean, you guys, the writing's on the wall. You know, a few months ago, Disney makes an announcement that they're going to focus on streaming. Warner Media counters that by saying they're going to make an announcement by focusing all of their time and attention on HBO Max. Disney says that they're going to move their movie, Mulan. They're going to put Mulan on Disney Plus with a streaming premium. That did not work out so well for Disney, by the way. That did not work out so well for Disney. But it was a big announcement. It was kind of a risk. It was something that they wanted to experiment with and try and see how well it worked. Well, then Warner Brothers countered and said, "Oh, well, we're gonna put Wonder Woman on both HBO Max and in theaters on the same day, on Christmas Day." And then Disney countered and said, "Okay, we're just going to put Soul out on Disney Plus on Christmas Day. So how do you like that, Warner Brothers?" And then Warner Brothers was like, "All right, it's time for the big guns." They've announced that they're going to drop 17 movies. Their entire 2021 movie slate on HBO Max the same day that they're coming out in theaters. Unprecedented. That's never happened before. You guys, it's a pretty good chance that Disney is going to counter HBO Max's announcement with another massive announcement that they're going to drop their entire 2021 slate on Disney Plus. It may happen, it may not, but I think if it does, we should not be completely taken off guard here. This is such a huge opportunity for Disney. And yes, it's also a huge opportunity for consumers, but there are certain impacts and domino effects within the industry that it will have. And you know, we'll talk about that later in the next segment coming up. But Lloydie, let me kick this to you for a second. Disney has some big decisions to make in the next 24 hours or less, because their investors meeting is happening today. You're not an insider per se, but you've worked in entertainment industries for, like you said, for better part of 2 decades. You understand trends. You see the industry for what it is. You've been around the block a few times. You know what's going on. What do you think we can expect to hear from Disney in terms of like big news announcements? Because we already know that they're taking a huge shift towards Disney Plus moving forward, and that COVID has accelerated those plans. So what do you think that we're going to see from Disney? And I don't know, do you think we're going to see Black Widow on a premium streaming service in the next year?
I'm going to be really interested to see what their medium term is versus their long term, like where the long term strategy is. Because yes, I think the pandemic is going to have changed things. When we come out the other side sooner rather than later, please, I think things are going to be different. However, there is a difference between chasing where the money is in the short term to where the money is in the long term. Right now, of course, there is so much more money in streaming. That is obvious because, you know, most movie theaters are closed. Either that or people don't really want to go there for fear of catching the COVID disease. However, movie theaters are going to reopen. And do you think after being cooped up in their homes for the best part of a year that people are going to want to stay in their homes for longer periods still? So you've got to compete for people's attention where they are. And I think people are going to be coming out of their homes and wanting to spend a lot of time socializing, reconnecting with the world outside and in other environments. Now, there is a really good podcast called Decoder. And on that, they talk about trends. And at the beginning of this month, they had Shelley Taylor, who is the CEO of Alamo Drafthouse, who like are one of the main picture houses in the US, I believe. We don't have them here. We have gentlemen and ladies picture houses over here
Lloydie,
in
that
the
means
UK.
something very different here.
Oh, I'm
A
sorry.
gentleman's picture
I
house? Oh yeah, very very different.
okay. Oh no, I see where that could potentially lead. Apologies. I was just trying to make it sound more British and have succeeded in making it sound something else. But Shelley Taylor from Alamo Drafthouse was talking about what they're doing as movie theaters, as cinemas, to get ready for when people are ready to come back to the cinema, and when people are ready to go and see a movie with other people and enjoy the collective experience. They are trying to make it the best possible experience, whether it be the seats or whether it be getting in locally brewed craft beers that people can have. So they're really investing in that, and I think Disney, if they're going to be smart, short term, yeah, absolutely. You put your stuff in streaming, but more long term, one of the reasons why Disney is in better shape than a lot of companies is they've been a mix between things like physical properties that they have, like the theme parks, and stuff that you can just consume online, and stuff that is rights based and digitally based. And I think the companies that will do the best, whether they be movies or not, are going to be the ones that have a bit of both, because the online element, some of that is going to stick. And people have bought their subscriptions, so of course they're going to want their money's worth. But humans crave experiences, and when we can get out of our homes and have physical experiences again, if I know humans like I do, then they're going to want them. So there is a difference between chasing the money and chasing your people, and I think that hopefully Disney will have a differential between their medium-term strategy and their long-term strategy that comes out of this meeting.
Okay, so you talk about medium-term strategy and long-term strategy. What does that look like? Like if they have a long-term strategy, obviously their long-term strategy and their medium-term strategy is to make money, as well as the short-term strategy. They want to make money. They want to stay in business. It's often been cliched. It's called yeah, it's called the movie business, not movie friends. What am I trying to say? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So they're here to make money. They're here to stay in business and to provide more content. What is the real world practical application of that? Like, what does that look like? Does that mean that you think that they're going to put maybe less content out now so that we have more content later? Or do you think they're going to put more content out now and have maybe have less content later, or B, ramp up production in a COVID world so that we have more content now and more content later?
Hopefully it's the last one, because we all want content. I know I do. I constantly want something new to watch. Like waiting a week for the next Mandalorian episode is, it feels like an eternity. And how about that most recent one? That was so good. Anyway, I think Disney, what they need is to keep that current subscriber base happy and engaging with that platform as often as they can, because the more that is habit while people are in their homes, then when people go out and about again, but then come back to their laptop, their Apple TV, whatever they're watching things on, then it will still be habit when they come back home. And they can expect a reduction in the amount of hours that they get of people watching stuff on their platform, I think, when things open up. But hopefully they have engaged with the Disney brand enough, and hopefully with some of their franchises, that when they go back to the movies, there is going to be something that they want. I mean, if they've been really strategic, and I think it's hard to do during this pandemic because it's been so unpredictable, but you think of the franchises that Disney have got, what can they have in production now that you've already got like episodes of or teasers for on Disney Plus? Can they make something that when we are going back to movie theaters, that is, that Disney Plus provides the stepping stones for, so that when people go back to movie theaters, oh, and now I need to go back to a movie theater and watch this.
Well, I think that's a really clever thing of what they're doing with their Marvel television shows right now, right? So we have WandaVision coming out. We have Falcon and Winter Soldier coming out shortly thereafter. Who knows what's going to happen with Black Widow? I mean, chances are very like. Do you remember that maybe it was like a week ago or a week and a half ago? There was a leaked footage of like a new Disney Plus promo to say like, hey, look, all these different shows are coming out on Disney Plus, and one of them featured was Black Widow. And in the bottom tiny right-hand corner of the screen, there was a little tag that says Black Widow coming April 2021 for a premium subscription. It was a leaked video. Nobody knew the source. It very well could have been the most perfectly produced fan-made leak in history. It could have been because it looked perfect. But there was no source tracing. Nobody knew where it came from. So there was that. But, Marvel has been, or rather, Marvel, they have been putting out these television shows. Hawkeye just went into production. They've announced casting for She-Hulk and Moon Knight. Moon Knight is shaping up to look pretty cool. And Ms. Marvel. So like they have these, as you call them, stepping stone projects that lead into the bigger picture. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Spider-Man 3, which we're going to talk about a little more about later. These are huge, massive projects that it's possible that, Disney is just going to announce, hey, all these shows are coming out. Here's your stepping stone shows. And let's get you amped up and excited and ready for a big theatrical movie. I mean, that could happen too.
I reckon so. I think that would be a really smart strategy. And like 10, 20 years ago, we would never have been saying this because the rule always was that, if you were on TV, and you were known as a television star, you were much less likely to get movie deals because why would people pay to see you when they can see you for free? Yeah. Now, because you've got subscription services like Disney Plus, like Netflix, like Hulu and Amazon Prime, now that is no longer the case because you are already paying and you are literally invested in these shows and in these characters. Yeah. So by putting on a movie and by using these different TV shows, the Marvel ones in particular, which have such a following, and using those towards movie eventually, a big blockbuster is, I think a strategy that they could leverage an awful lot. And there are very few people other than Disney who can really do that right now.
I don't want to keep belaboring this point because I feel like we've kind of talked it to death right now. But earlier you had mentioned the amount of subscriptions that Disney Plus has. They have 74 million subscribers, maybe a little bit more by now, but it's right around 74 million subscribers. That's huge. That's more than analysts even projected. And that's based off of one television show, The Mandalorian. That's based off of one early film release, I guess, with Hamilton. And that's based off of their catalog. That's it. They have a massive catalog that they don't have to license. So there's $0 in licensing fees because they own all their content. You have your operational costs and blah, 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 whatever. But we have 1.5 seasons of Mandalorian out right now. 1.5 seasons. Second half yet to come. We have Hamilton. That got a lot of subscribers. And all the library content. 74 million subscribers. HBO Max has around 40 million subscribers right now. A little bit more, around 40 million subscribers. With HBO Max dropping all of their content with Warner Media dropping all of their content onto HBO Max, subscriptions are going to go up, right? And I think it's really interesting to talk about these Marvel shows because once Disney really starts getting into the rhythm of, hey, we've got this show, and then we've got this show, and then we've got this show. Oh, you know that other show? Yeah, we've got more of that as well. We're getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone show. We have other Star Wars shows coming, not connected to any character that you currently are familiar with. So there's a lot more television style content coming out on Disney Plus that is just going to aid in this ramping up of subscriptions.
It is one of the smartest things I think that they have done as a company in a long time, and some of it has been deliberate, has been calculated. But to coincide your launch of such an important product with a pandemic that's going to keep people at home craving content is, a bit of luck as well. And these things always are. They're a bit of luck and they're a bit of judgment. Equally, people took similar gambles in other directions, and poor old Richard Branson there. Don't feel that sorry for him, but trying to launch a cruise line business just as a pandemic. That is, the equation in entirely reverse. So I think it's it's a really interesting time to be watching Disney, because you're right, their overheads are so low compared with everybody else who's having to pay for back catalog. I half got Disney Plus for The Mandalorian, but 50% of me got it for all of that back catalog of DuckTales.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I have watched so many of those episodes and I'm loving it. So
worth
Scrooge
the
McDuck.
money. Worth the money. Yeah. Anyway, guys, question for you is, what do you think the big announcements coming out from Disney will be later today? Do you think that Black Widow is actually going to come out on streaming on Disney Plus for a premium? Do you think that was a stunt? Do you where do you sit with all this? What kinds of announcements do you think Disney is going to make? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Scrooge McDuck would want you to do. DuckTales, woo!